The rehab center was dead quiet, too quiet. Fluorescent lights buzzed overhead like broken fireflies, and the faint smell of rubbing alcohol hung in the air. A woman sat strapped into a therapy chair, her fingers clamped around the metal bar so tight her knuckles turned ghost white. Sweat rolled down her forehead. Her breathing was sharp, uneven, almost panicked. Behind her stood a man with broad shoulders and a worn-out hoodie, the kind of hoodie that had clearly survived too many laundromat cycles. His hair was messy, his shirt soaked through from effort, and his eyes locked on her like she was the only person in the room. "Hey," he whispered, voice low and steady, "I'm right behind you. I ain't letting you hit the floor, not today." Her lips trembled, tears pooled, she was seconds away from giving up. Again. "Elena, look at me," he murmured, her chin lifted barely. And then out of nowhere, he leaned down and pressed a soft kiss to her forehead. Not romantic, not pity, just something that said, "I'm here, no matter what." She bit her lip so hard it almost bled. Then, shaking like a leaf, she pushed. Her muscles twitched, her legs tried to wake up. For the first time in over a year, they responded. The therapist froze, the assistant gasped. Elena let out a broken cry. I just wanted to try because he believes in me," she whispered. His name was Ethan Ward, 36, a repair technician. A single dad raising his mischievous 5-year-old daughter Lily all on his own. They were broke like dollar store dinners broke, but their little world was full of love, noise, and the kind of life you don't buy with money. Elena Gray was 30, only daughter of the Gray conglomerate, sharp mind, strong heart. A year ago, she ruled boardrooms. Then a car crash tore her life apart and left her paralyzed from the waist down. Now her parents were in full-blown panic mode. A business partner was circling their company like a shark, threatening to take everything unless Elena married his son. She refused. The Grays feared a scandal, a hostile takeover, possibly ruin. Then their lawyer proposed something wild. Marry someone else, someone with no ties, someone who can shield you. A fake marriage, a legal shield. One problem, Elena trusted no one. Except fate had other plans. Years ago, Ethan saved her father during a warehouse accident. Just a quick rescue, nothing heroic to him, but unforgettable to Mr. Gray. They offered Ethan a contract marriage. In exchange, Lily's entire future, school, college, everything would be fully paid. Ethan sat in their marble and glass office looking like a mechanic dropped into a luxury magazine. He felt out of place, but he listened. He didn't want money. He didn't want trouble. But he wanted Lily to have a shot at life he never had. Elena was wheeled in, cold, sharp eyes, zero smiles. "I don't need a pretend husband," she snapped. Ethan shrugged. "Cool, 'cause I sure as hell don't need a pretend wife. But maybe we both need a lifeline." A beat. Something flickered in her eyes, curiosity. The contract was signed. Ethan and Lily moved into the Grays' guest house, and that was the moment everything started to shift. But on their very first family dinner, someone at the table tried humiliating Ethan, and Elena's reaction shocked the entire Gray dynasty. The first night inside the Gray estate felt like stepping into another planet, a planet where forks had more sizes than Ethan had tools in his entire repair kit. The dining hall was long enough to host a small concert, chandelier glowing like a crystal sun. Ethan and little Lily sat at the far end, clearly placed in the "you're technically family but not really family" seats. Lily swung her feet under the chair, whispering, "Daddy, why are there 3 spoons?" Ethan chuckled. "Don't worry, kiddo. Just grab the one that feels right. That's what I'm doing." Across the table, Elena rolled in quietly, her posture straight, face unreadable. She caught Lily's nervous fidgeting and offered her a small nod, barely visible but enough to steady the kid. But the peace didn't last. Elena's uncle, Harold, cleared his throat dramatically like he was starting an opera. "So," he said loudly, staring straight at Ethan. "This is the repair guy we've adopted." The table chuckled. Ethan stayed calm. "Ethan is fine." Harold smirked. "Sure, Ethan, tell me, do you even know which wine glass is which, or will you fix the dishwasher while you're here?" More laughter. Lily looked down, cheeks burning. Alina's jaw tightened. Then her cousin Marcus, smug, polished, wearing a tux that probably cost more than Ethan's car, leaned forward. "So, Alina, tell us, how does it feel going from CEOs and Ivy League suitors to this?" He gestured toward Ethan like he was pointing at a spilled drink. A hush fell. Ethan swallowed his pride and cut Lily's food gently, refusing to engage. Marcus laughed. "Come on, he knows he doesn't belong here." That was it. Alina's hands tightened on her wheelchair rims. She slammed them against the table edge, not hard, but loud enough to snap every head in her direction. "Enough!" Her voice was low, icy, and dangerous. Harold blinked. "Alina, I said enough." The room froze. She lifted her chin, eyes burning. "Ethan Ward has more dignity than anyone sitting at this table, and you will not speak to him like he's less." Harold's face went pale. Marcus scoffed. "Relax, Alina. It was a joke." "No," she snapped. "A joke is funny. This was cruelty, and if any of you think mocking someone for working hard is acceptable," she rolled her wheelchair an inch forward. "You're the embarrassment here, not him." Silence. Complete silence. Even the servers stopped moving. Ethan stared at her, stunned. He had expected to get roasted all night, not defended by the woman who barely tolerated him earlier. After dinner, Ethan approached her in the hallway near the garden doors. "You didn't have to do that," he said softly. Alina met his eyes for just 1 second before looking away. "Yes, I did." "Why?" She hesitated. "Because I may be trapped in this chair, but I'm not going to sit and watch someone disrespect the one person who's actually trying." Ethan swallowed hard. "Thank you." She simply nodded. Later that night, Ethan and Lily began settling into the guest house. Alina watched through the window as Lily danced around the living room like she'd won a carnival prize. Something warm twisted in Alina's chest. She hated it. She loved it. She didn't know which was worse. But the next morning, Ethan heard something through the wall, thuds, gasps, muffled pain. And when he tried to help Alina, she said something that cut sharper than a knife. The next morning hit the mansion like any other, quiet halls, polished marble, sunlight gliding through tall windows. But Ethan woke up to something that didn't belong in a house this fancy. Thud. Then another. Then a muffled groan, the kind someone makes when they're trying not to cry. He sat up instantly. It was coming from the room on the other side of the wall. Alina's room. He hesitated only a second before he knocked gently, but firmly. "Alina, you okay in there?" Silence. He knocked again. "Alina, seriously, can I help?" Still nothing. Then her voice sliced through the door, sharp and icy as winter steel. "I said I'm fine." It wasn't the words. It was the way they wobbled, like they were barely holding together. But Ethan had been around enough broken things to recognize when something was about to snap. He rested his palm flat on the door. "Alina, I heard you fall." A beat of silence. Then, "I don't need you rushing in here like some hero. I can handle myself." Her voice cracked on the last word. He didn't push. She had enough people making her feel trapped already. "All right," he said quietly. "But if you ever actually want help, I'm not far." No answer, no thank you, just more walls. But the thing about walls, cracks still let light through. And the first crack came from a 5-year-old with crayons. Later that afternoon, as Ethan fixed a loose drawer in the guest house kitchen, Lily bounced in with a stack of papers clutched against her chest. "Daddy, I made something for Miss Alina." Ethan glanced at the drawings. Flowers, hearts, 3 stick figures holding hands. "Are you sure she'll want?" Lily didn't wait. She sprinted across the courtyard and knocked on Alina's bedroom door with all the confidence of someone who'd never been hurt by the world. "Miss Elena, I made you a picture." Long silence. Ethan jogged over. "Lils, she might be resting." The door opened a crack. Alina sat there, hair messy, cheeks flushed, eyes tired, like she'd been fighting a war inside herself all day. Lily held up the picture. "This is you, me, and Daddy. Look, I made your wheelchair purple 'cause purple is a power color." Alina stared at the drawing. Something inside her softened, barely. Then she whispered, "Thank you, sweetheart." Lily beamed. "Daddy says you're super strong." Alina's throat moved like she was swallowing something painful. "Does he?" Lily nodded like she was reporting on a science experiment. "Yep, and he also said you're brave. Braver than anyone." Alina blinked hard. She opened the door wider, just an inch. But for someone who'd built emotional walls taller than this mansion, it was progress. "Tell him thank you," she said quietly. When Lily ran back, Ethan pretended he wasn't listening. "She smiled, Daddy," Lily squealed. "She smiled for real." Ethan felt something warm settle in his chest, hope maybe, but hope never comes without a challenge. 2 weeks later, at a massive family event, one man pushed the wrong button, and Alina snapped so hard the entire room went dead silent. 2 weeks later, the gray mansion buzzed with chaos. Fancy cars rolled up the driveway, designers unloaded dresses, and some relative nobody even knew claimed she absolutely required organic bottled water flown from France. It was family event night, the kind where reputations mattered more than oxygen. Alina hated these nights. Her wheelchair always felt heavier here. People's eyes always lingered too long, hovering between pity and judgment. Ethan arrived wearing his only suit jacket. It fit well enough, but it wasn't designer, which made him stick out like a black and white TV in a 4,000 showroom. Lily held his hand like a little bodyguard. "You look cool, Daddy," she said proudly. Ethan winked. "Well, somebody has to." Alina rolled up beside them wearing a sleek black dress tailored to her chair. She looked powerful, commanding, but Ethan didn't miss the tension in her jaw. "You ready?" he asked. "No," she said bluntly, "but I'm here." Inside, relatives swarmed like bees. Some offered polite nods. Most stared at Ethan like he'd wandered into the wrong movie set. Then Marcus showed up, of course, smug. Overdressed, carrying a champagne glass he didn't pay for, he stepped in front of Ethan like he was blocking a doorway. "Well, well, well, the husband," Marcus smirked. "Should we have someone pat him down? Wouldn't want any silverware disappearing." Alina's eyes darkened instantly. "Marcus," she warned. But Marcus was the kind of man who ignored warning signs and ran straight into hurricanes. He leaned closer to Ethan, tone dripping with superiority. "Let me guess, you're still trying to figure out which fork to use? Don't worry, I'm sure your upbringing didn't cover table etiquette." A few guests laughed. Ethan didn't. He just held Lily's hand a little tighter. Lily glared at Marcus. "My daddy knows lots of things. He fixes stuff," Marcus chuckled. "Adorable." Ethan put a hand on Lily's shoulder. "It's okay, kid," Marcus shrugged. "Hey, I'm just saying, some people climb the ladder, others just hold it for real men." That one hit Ethan. Hard. Alina saw the flicker in his eyes, and she snapped, fast, fierce, deadly calm. She rolled forward and slammed her wheelchair footrest into Marcus's shiny dress shoe, intentionally. He yelped like someone stepped on a Lego. "You arrogant jerk," she said, voice low enough to quiet the room. "If you speak to Ethan that way again, so help me, I will run over your other foot." Gasps erupted. Marcus reddened. "Alina." "No," she cut in. "You don't get to belittle someone who works harder than you've ever worked a day in your life." He opened his mouth, but she wasn't done. "Ethan stood by me when I was at my lowest. He treats me like a human being, something you wouldn't understand even with a manual." The room went still, utterly still. Harold coughed awkwardly. Elena, dear, maybe you're being dramatic. Dramatic, she hissed. I'm disabled, not blind. I see all of you for what you are. Her mother tried stepping in. Elena, sweetheart, stop calling me sweetheart at events like I'm an ornament. Ethan stood frozen, stunned, almost speechless. No one had ever defended him like that, and no one had ever seen Elena this furious. Marcus straightened his jacket and glared. You're embarrassing the family. No, Elena said. I'm saving it. Then she turned her chair sharply and left the room with Ethan and Lily following behind. Outside, under the dim garden lights, Ethan finally exhaled. You didn't have to do that, he murmured. Elena looked at him with steel and softness all mixed together. Yes, Ethan, I absolutely did. But that night, something even bigger happened. Something Ethan heard through the wall that made him realize Elena was breaking more on the inside than she ever let anyone see. That night, after the disastrous family event, the mansion felt colder than usual. The laughter and gossip from earlier had faded, replaced by the soft hum of nighttime silence. Ethan tucked Lily into bed in the guest house. She was out like a light within minutes, clutching the little purple bracelet she'd made for Elena. But Ethan couldn't sleep. Something about the way Elena had snapped earlier, something about the way her voice shook afterward, something felt off. He wasn't wrong. Around midnight, he heard it again. Thud, not loud, more like someone trying to move quietly but failing. He sat up. That was Elena's room again. He listened. Thud, a soft gasp, then something even worse, a muffled sob. Ethan ran a hand through his hair. He didn't want to invade her privacy, but he also couldn't pretend he didn't hear someone suffering. He stepped into the hallway and knocked gently. Elena, silence. Elena, it's me. Are you okay? Still nothing. Then her voice came, barely audible, small and cracked. Go away, Ethan. That voice wasn't cold, it wasn't angry, it was broken. Ethan pressed his forehead lightly to the door. I'm not here to bother you. Just let me know you're not hurt. More silence. Then I fell. The words were so quiet he almost missed them. Are you hurt? He asked. No, just humiliated. A shaky breath. I tried transferring to the chair myself. Messed up, ended up on the floor like an idiot. Ethan's chest tightened. Elena, you're not an idiot. Well, it sure feels like it, she shot back. I used to run marathons. Now I can't even get out of bed without turning into a one-woman disaster movie. He closed his eyes. Let me help, please. No, her tone sharpened instantly. If you walk in here and see me like this, I'll never be able to look you in the eye again. Elena, trust me. I said no. He stepped back, not because he wanted to, because he respected her enough to listen. Okay, he whispered. I'm right across the hall if you need me. He stood there for several seconds, hoping she'd call him back. She didn't. Back in the guest house, Ethan paced the living room, frustration tightening his chest. He'd spent years fixing things, machines, appliances, broken wiring, but he had never felt so helpless. He couldn't fix her pain. He couldn't fix her pride. He couldn't fix the voice inside her head telling her she wasn't enough. But someone else could. The next morning, Lily marched straight to Elena's room without hesitation, because kids don't tiptoe around emotional landmines. She knocked twice, then slipped a drawing under the door, a colorful mess of crayon hearts and crooked smiles. Elena, she called. This one's you standing up. You look like a superhero. Ethan froze. Elena opened the door a moment later, red-eyed, hair messy, looking nothing like the composed woman the world expected, but everything like someone who desperately needed kindness. She looked at Lily's drawing, her lips trembled. Thank you, she whispered. But when her gaze lifted to Ethan, something flickered there, fear, frustration, and something softer. Something that scared her more than falling ever could. When Elena agreed to restart physical therapy, Ethan stepped in as her helper, and one moment during training pushed their fragile bond into dangerous, emotional territory. Alina didn't announce it. She didn't make a speech. She didn't even look Ethan in the eye when she said it. I want to restart physical therapy. Ethan almost dropped the wrench he was holding. You mean, like, really? That's huge. Don't make it a big deal, she muttered, wheeling away before he could say anything else. But it was a big deal, a very big one. The therapist nearly cried when she got the message. We'll start tomorrow, she said, but she'll need someone she's comfortable with in the room. They all looked at Ethan. He felt his stomach flip. If Alina's okay with it, I'm in. Alina didn't argue, not out loud, but the tightness in her shoulders showed she was terrified. The next day, the therapy room felt like a battlefield. The parallel bars stood in the center like some giant metal challenge waiting to be conquered. The room smelled like disinfectant and lemon polish, and the air felt thick with pressure. Alina rolled in, trying to look determined, but Ethan saw her hand shaking as she positioned her wheelchair beside the bars. He stepped closer. Hey, you don't gotta be Superwoman today, just breathe. She gave him a flat look. I'm breathing, barely. The therapist smiled gently. We're only stretching today, no standing, no pressure. Alina nodded stiffly. The session began, and Ethan learned real quick this wasn't going to be some gentle, inspirational movie montage. Every stretch hurt. Every movement scared her. Every correction from the therapist made her flinch. At one point, when Alina had to bend forward to engage her core, she stumbled, just slightly, and Ethan reacted without thinking, stepping forward and catching her arm. Her head snapped toward him. I'm not going to break, she snapped. I know, he said calmly, but accidents happen. Not with me. He raised a brow. You literally fell last night. Her eyes widened, furious and embarrassed. You weren't supposed to bring that up. Then stop acting like you're made of steel plates, he countered gently. You're human, Alina. Humans wobble. She didn't answer. She just gripped the parallel bars harder. The therapist stepped in to adjust her posture, but Alina's breaths were turning shallow too fast. She was panicking. Hey, Ethan said softly, moving to her side. Look at me. No, she muttered. Alina. She finally snapped her gaze toward him, angry, afraid, and barely holding on. You got this, he whispered. You're doing more today than 99% of people who have never lived through what you did. That's courage, okay? Real courage. She blinked rapidly, her jaw trembled, and then she whispered, Why do you keep doing that? Doing what? Making me feel like I'm not, her voice cracked. Broken, he swallowed hard. Because you're not, her eyes glistened. She looked away quickly, refusing to let the tears fall. The rest of the session went smoother, not easy, not painless, but calmer. She wasn't ready to stand yet, but she was trying, and trying mattered. When the session ended, she wheeled toward the door faster than usual, almost like she needed to escape. But before she left, she whispered, so quietly he almost didn't catch it. Thank you for not giving up on me? Ethan's chest tightened. Never, he said, and he meant it. But the next session brought a twist no one expected, because Alina's little cheerleader showed up, and her innocent question pushed Alina straight to the emotional breaking point and toward a moment that would change everything. The next therapy session started normal. Well, as normal as it could get for someone fighting her own body every single day. Ethan walked beside Alina's wheelchair, quiet but steady, and the therapist prepared the parallel bars with new padding. But before they even began, a tiny pair of sneakers squeaked across the floor. Lily burst in, pigtails messy, smile wide, clutching her notebook like it carried the secrets of the universe. Miss Elena, can I watch today? Alina froze. Her shoulders stiffened, her fingers curling around the armrests. The therapist looked to Alina for permission. Alina swallowed hard. Lily, sweetheart, this isn't exactly fun to watch. Lily shrugged. Doesn't matter. Daddy says brave people aren't always having fun, they're just trying. Ethan looked away for a second, hiding the smile tugging at his lips. "Let her stay," he murmured. Alina hesitated, then nodded once. Lily climbed onto a small chair in the corner, kicking her legs and humming as if this were a magic show instead of a physical battle. The therapist guided Alina to position her wheelchair beside the bars. "Ready?" she asked. "No," Alina muttered, "but I'm here." The therapist smiled. "That's enough." They began with stretches, then core work. Alina's face tightened with pain, but she didn't complain, not with Lily watching. Ethan handed her a resistance band. "Light one today," he said. Alina shot him a glare. "I can handle heavier." "Not the point, work smarter, not tougher," he teased. She rolled her eyes but took the band. After a few exercises, her breathing turned shaky. Sweat beaded along her hairline. Then came the moment. The therapist touched Alina's shoulder gently. "Let's try standing today, just a few seconds, you're ready." Alina's entire body went still. "No," she whispered. Lily perked up on her chair. "You can do it, Miss Alina, I believe in you." Alina's throat tightened. "Sweetheart, it's not that simple." Lily tilted her head. "Why not? You're strong." That was it, the question. The one that hit harder than any pain. "Miss Alina," Lily asked softly, "why don't you stand up to play with me? Daddy says you used to run. Why can't you try standing now?" Alina froze like she'd been punched. Her eyes welled instantly, fast, uncontrollable. Ethan stepped forward. "Lily, no," Alina said, voice shaking. "She's not wrong." Her hands gripped the wheels of her chair until her knuckles whitened. "I'm scared, Lily." Her voice cracked. "I'm scared of falling. I'm scared of trying. And I'm scared that if I do and fail, I'll look even weaker than I already feel." The therapist looked down, giving her space. Lily slid off her chair, walked over, and placed a tiny hand on Alina's knee. "It's okay to be scared," she said. "Daddy says brave people are scared a lot." Alina's tears spilled. She covered her mouth, shaking. Ethan knelt beside her, his voice low, gentle. "You don't have to do this to impress anyone," he said. "Not me, not Lily, not your family. Just do it because you deserve to feel strong again." Alina breathed out a trembling breath. Then, with her voice barely a whisper, she said, "Okay." Ethan's heart slammed against his ribs. The therapist blinked in shock. "Are you sure?" Alina nodded, shaky but determined. "Help me at the bars." They moved her wheelchair into place. Her hands gripped the cold metal. Her arms trembled. Her breathing hitched. Behind her, Ethan stepped close, not touching, but close enough for her to feel his presence like a promise. Lily clasped her hands together, eyes wide. "You got this?" Alina stared straight ahead. Terrified, ready, shaking, alive, and then on the count of 3 she pushed. What happened next changed her life, Ethan's life, and the future of their fake marriage forever. Alina gripped the parallel bars so tightly the metal dug into her palms. Her breaths came fast, too fast, shallow and shaky like her lungs had forgotten how to work. The therapist stood in front of her, adjusting the support belt gently. "On your timing," she said. "No rush." Ethan stood behind Alina, not touching, but close enough that she could feel the heat of him, the steadiness. He felt like a seatbelt she didn't have to see to trust. Lily bounced excitedly beside them, her sneakers squeaking. "We're cheering, okay? Big cheers, loud cheers." Alina attempted a smile, but it wobbled. "Maybe not too loud." "I'm already terrified." Ethan leaned closer. "Hey, you know I'm right here, right?" She swallowed. "Yeah. You fall, I catch you. You stumble, I steady you. You freeze, I talk you through. Got it?" Her eyes flicked sideways, softening. "Got it," the therapist nodded. "Okay, Alina, ready to count." Alina inhaled slowly once, twice. She whispered, 1, 2, then paused. Fear slammed into her chest like a wrecking ball. "I can't," she whispered, voice breaking. "I can't do it." Ethan didn't touch her, not yet, but he stepped closer, his voice a low anchor. Elena, listen to me. You don't have to stand perfectly. You don't have to stand long. Just try, that's all. Trying is already a win. Her shoulders shook, tears welled. Why does this feel impossible? She whispered. Because you care, he murmured. Because this moment matters. But hey, so what if you wobble? So what if it's messy? Life is messy. Elena shut her eyes tightly. Then she felt something small slip around her wrist. Lily, the little purple bead bracelet. For courage, Lily whispered. That was the moment everything inside Elena shifted. She placed both hands firmly on the bars, chest lifting, jaw tightening. Okay, she whispered. Let's try again. The therapist steadied the belt. Ethan held his breath. Lily clasped her hands under her chin. 1, 2, 3. Elena pushed. Her arms trembled violently, her core engaged. Her legs, long silent, long stubborn, shook like they were waking up from a year-long nightmare. Come on, she whispered through gritted teeth. Her body rose slowly, painfully, beautifully. The therapist gasped. She's lifting, Ethan, she's lifting. Ethan's eyes blurred. Keep going, Elena, you got this. Her legs straightened more, shaking, uneven, but fighting. Then she was up. Not fully, not perfectly, but standing, for the first time in 13 months. Oh my God, Elena breathed. I'm up. Lily screamed, you're doing it. The therapist's voice trembled. Hold it, just hold it. Ethan's voice cracked. Look at you, I'm so damn proud of you. Elena's breaths were uneven, tears streaming down her face. She didn't look graceful. She didn't look like the woman she used to be. She looked stronger. The therapist began counting. 1, 2, 3, 4, Elena cried. 5 seconds. 6, her arms shook violently. 7, her legs buckled. Ethan moved instantly, but gently guiding her back into the wheelchair without letting her fall even a millimeter. The moment she sat down, Elena broke, not sobbing from sadness, but from relief, shock, and finally believing she wasn't done yet. Ethan knelt in front of her, cupping her hands lightly. I'm not proud because you stood, he whispered. I'm proud because you didn't quit on yourself. Elena let out a shaky laugh through tears. 7 seconds. 7 legendary seconds, Ethan corrected. Lily threw her arms around Elena's waist. You're my hero. Elena hugged her back, forehead pressed against her tiny shoulder. And in that moment, something undeniable settled between them, something far bigger than any contract, any arrangement, any fake marriage. Hope, real, terrifying, beautiful hope, the kind that changes everything, the kind that writes the next chapter on its own.